Welcome to Warhammer 40k lore in the Bible, where I pull from Warhammer 40k lore to help explain biblical lore. And today, we're going over the Eldar Dragons. And I do this series every Monday. Every Tuesday will be the short version of this. That's more of a narrative experience. And of course, this is more like a study of the lore in the Bible. And then I do react videos that goes around Warhammer 40k lore with the biblical veneer to it as well. Now, how these work is we get into the Warhammer 40k lore first, just to kind of set the stage, and then we get into the biblical lore. And then I try to rhyme back to Warhammer 40k lore, but this one, there ain't much to go on, so there won't be Warhammer 40k lore at the end. But anyways, let's get this started. Dragons are a type of giant reptile closely associated with the Eldar Exodites. Dragons have mythological importance to the Eldari. Dragons were the wide variety of offspring of the giant reptiles seeded among the maiden worlds of the Eldar Empire to become a dominant component of the planet's ecologies. The original species may have originated from the homeworlds of the Eldar, but the dragons of the maiden worlds were genetically engineered. Dragons are carnivores, some of whom can fly and breathe fire, who naturally feed on forest prey. Exodites keep a domestic stock of dragons and harvest algae to and feed them. Dragons exist on imperial worlds as well. The dragons of the Crow's world live in swamps and hunt goats, a morsel which hunters also bait the dragons. Dragons exist in wide variety of morphologies, from the diminutive raptor hound to the tremendous brachiosaur. Dragons became central to the lifestyles of the Eldar Exodites in the wake of the fall of the Eldar, who herd-working dragons such as the Megasaur, also known as the Megadon, which Exodites trade the meat of with the craft-world Eldar. Exodite dragon knights are known to ride various species, but are most well known for their horse-sized raptors, winged pterosaurs, and the prestigious carniosaurs. The Dragon's End. The stories of the imperial knights of the House Grivet hold that they hunted to extinction a fire-breathing species of the giant reptile known as a dragon, which flew amidst the thermal plumes of their homeworld, Dragon's End. Whether or not this dragon was a variety of Eldar dragon or simply a creature with similar morphology is unclear. Eldar myth states that the dragons are fire-breathing serpents said to represent wanton destruction. It is the dragon aspect which of the world spirits of the Exodites manifest when it attempts to sweep itself clean of life and begin anew. It is for the dragon aspect of Cain that the fire dragons are named, and it's said that during the Rana Dandra, the Phoenix Lord Fugan will bind a dragon with a chain formed of retribution, which will stretch across the universe. The children of Siam, the cosmic serpent, are sometimes referred to as dragons. It is unclear if that includes the weaver serpents, who are also Siam's children. I think that's how you say it. I'm terrible with that, guys, so I apologize if I'm saying that wrong. Is that Sam? I don't know. Anyways, I digress. But anyways, now we're going to get to biblical dragons. The Tanin is what they're called. And of course, we have the Seraphim, which are like these spiritual dragons, these spiritual angel dragons, right? But these Tanin are physical dragons. You'll see here. So let's read this first. Isaiah 34:13. Now this gets into the great owl or the screech owl, which in Hebrew is Lilith. But that is coming when we get into Slanesh. But anyways, starting in verse 12, and we're going to go all the way to 14. So they shall call the nobles thereof to the kingdom, but none shall be there, and all her princes shall be nothing. Talking about the screech owl. And thorns shall come up in her palaces, nettles and brambles in the fortresses thereof, and it shall be a habitation of dragons, and a court for owls. The wild beasts of the desert shall also meet with the wild beasts of the island, and the satyr shall cry to his fellow. The screech owl shall rest there, and find herself a place of rest. Now, this is how you can tell if you got a bunk translation. If it says stuff like, goats, hyenas, stuff like that, you got a bunk translation. Okay, it's satyr shall cry to his fellow. And screech owl, it's pretty close because I want to show you something here. A court for owls. There's owls. And she kind of looks like an owl, doesn't she? This is Inanna, or Ishtar as well, whoever you want to say it. And I'll get into that in the Slanesh thing. So, but anyways. So this word for dragon is the Tanin. Right here. Tanin, serpent, dragon, or sea monster. So it can mean the sea dragons as well, right? The sea serpents and whatnot. But this one's talking about dragons. Physical dragons. And unfortunately, there's Christians out there who say that dinosaurs didn't exist, right? There's one thing I want to bring up, which is, let me see if I can find it. Nope, not that one. Anyways. Right here. Okay. So this is 1 Enoch chapter 7. And we're going to start in verse 2. And they became pregnant, they bare great giants, whose height was 3,000 ells, who consumed all the acquisitions of men. And when man could no longer sustain them, the giants turned against them and devoured mankind. So I brought this up a lot of times on this channel. But pay attention to this part. And they began to sin against the birds, the beasts, and the reptiles. And they were giants whose height was 3,000 ells. Okay, so now let's get into the T-Rex here. I want you to see some anomalies here that may be genetic. Oh my goodness. Come on now. Okay. Right. Some genetic, things in nature, like animals. Everything on them that, in my opinion, comes from God is useful. It all has a point to it, right? There's a reason why they have it. What is the point of these itty-bitty little arms that they don't even use? Right? So in my opinion, I believe the T-Rex was a Nephilim. And a lot of these dinosaurs now, the Brontosaurus and stuff like that, the Bible talks about behemoth, how it eats, the grass, and it's like as big as a mountain, right? Here, let me bring that up real quick. Behemoth. Okay. Job. Behold now, behemoth, which I made with thee, he eateth grass as an ox. Lo, now his strength is in his loins, and his force is in his navel of his belly. He moveth his tail like a cedar. That's not a rhino, that some translations say, or some commentaries, I should say, or anything like that. Its tail is like a cedar. So let's go look at the Brontosaurus real quick. I think that's how you say it. Here we go. So check out that guy's tail real quick. See if I can find a good one. Right? Let me see here. Like this one. Let me see if I can find a real... And it eats grass, right? So you can just look at those. But anyways. But yeah. And there's more to it as well. Like his bones are strong pieces of brass. His bones are like bars of iron. Very interesting. Okay. Now let's move on. So he saw that they were genetically modifying reptiles and fish and to devour one another's flesh and drink the blood. Very interesting. That's what T-Rexes were doing. But anyways, we're going to move on from that to this. 2nd Ezra 15:59. Now this one may be talking about the seraphim dragons, right? So 2nd Ezra 15:29. Yeah. Or starting in verse 28, sorry. Behold, a horrible vision, and the appearance thereof from the east. That east is going to be very important here when I bring up Enoch. So, where the nations of the dragons of Arabia shall come out with many chariots, and the multitude of them shall be carried as the wind upon the earth, and all they that are which hear them may fear and tremble. Very interesting. And now 2nd Ezra was in the 1611 Bible, but it's just look at it as an apocrypha. But we're going to get some confirmation here because check this out. This is why I say it may be the seraphim angels who will be leading this. And if you know, seraphim means fiery serpent, right? Satan is a fiery serpent, right? And he's a seraphim, not a cherubim, in my opinion. Anyways, so 1st Enoch chapter 56, starting in verse 5. And in those days the angels shall return and hurl themselves to the east upon the Parthians and the Medes. This is like Iran. Here, let me bring in a map. See if I can find a good one. Okay. So this is the Parthian Empire. You can see here, which is very interesting. Kind of like in the East, Middle East / East, right? And let's go see if I can find a better Medes map here. It's like Iran and stuff like that. Oh, come on. Sorry about my internet. It's acting really strange lately. Come on now. What's going on? Uh-oh. Okay. So Persian Empire. Then we got Media right here. The Persian Gulf. So Upper Iran, East, stuff like that, right? Very interesting. And then, where is it? But yeah, interesting stuff. Okay, now I want to talk about this, the Middle Eastern dragons. Okay, so history of Middle Eastern dragons. Introduction. The Middle Eastern dragons and serpents were fearsome creatures of tremendous strength and size. They often exhibited the characteristics of other animals, such as the head of a lion and the talons of an eagle. Some are even depicted with scorpion's tail. And, you know what, let me bring that up real quick. Jasher chapter 4. Okay, I wish I would have thought of this beforehand, but anyways. Let's go to verse 18, Jasher 4, verse 18. And their judges and rulers went to the daughters of men and took their wives by force. So Genesis 6, right? But check this out. And from their husbands according to their choice. And the sons of men in those days took from the cattle of the earth, the beasts of the field, the fowls of the air, and taught the mixture of animals of one species with the other, in order wherewith to provoke the Lord. And God saw the whole earth, and it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted its ways upon the earth. All men and all animals. This is why you get minotaurs, centaurs, and stuff like that. There was some crazy stuff going on. And God took it out with the flood. That's why the flood happened, right? So, let's go back to this. Oops. So, many were sea creatures, embodying the destructive power of the unpredictable nature and the threat of chaos. We know we have this. The dragons of the sea. See. Okay, Isaiah 27, verse 1. In that day, the Lord with the sore and great strong sword shall punish Leviathan, the piercing serpent, even Leviathan, that crooked serpent, and he shall slay the dragon that is in the sea. Right? Very interesting. Let's see what this word for dragon is. Tanin. Serpent, dragon, sea monster. So there we go. Another Tanin. Okay. Okay, so in time, they came to represent not just disorder, but evil. As the religions of the Middle East moved into Europe, their views of serpents and dragons most likely influenced the West's depiction of the dragon as being a symbol of evil as well. Well, we know Satan is a dragon, a seraphim, right? Which seraphim means fiery serpent. So let's look that up. So for the new people, so seraphim Strongs. Seraph, fiery serpent. Right here. Burning, poisonous, specifically a seraph, symbolical creature. Let's see, find the Strong's exhaustive concordance. Fiery serpent, seraph. Right here, fiery serpent. Or it can mean a poisonous serpent as well. But yeah, very interesting. Okay, so we move on. History of Middle Eastern dragons, blah, 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 blah. Many Middle Eastern dragons were a symbol of Marduk, the supreme god of Babylonian and Assyrian religion. Originally the god of thunderstorms, with the Ammonites and the guardian god of the city of Babylon itself. Sounds a whole lot like Zeus, doesn't it? Right? We see, anyways, that's for another video down the road. I'm getting ahead of myself. So, as the sacred animal of the dragon, Marduk had the head and tail of a serpent, the body and four legs of a lion, and the hind legs of a falcon. There's that Genesis 6 thing going on here, right? Okay, and a forked tongue. So this is that dragon bloodline, right? So we got dragons, stuff like that, but we also got people with a dragon bloodline to them. Okay. So Marduk was emblazoned on the monumental Ishtar Gate at the climax of the ceremonial route to the city. You know, King Nebuchadnezzar's siege of Jerusalem, 2 Kings 24:10-16. The processional way was also lined with rows of lions sacred to Ishtar, the goddess of love and fertility. This lady, right here. And she's got a little ankh, which is very interesting, isn't it? But anyways, we won't get into that. All right, so let's move on. So Job 41:1. Canst thou draw out Leviathan with a hook, or his tongue with a cord which thou lettest down? Canst thou put a hook into his nose, or bore his jaw through with a thorn? Will he make many supplications unto thee? Will he speak soft words with thee? And will he make a covenant with thee? Wilt thou take him for a servant forever? Now let's check this out. Okay, where's the lamps? Hold on a second. I'm looking for where it shows he breathes fire. Or his sneezings are like lamps, it says. Sorry, guys, I apologize for this. Nor his comely proportion. Doors open the doors of his face. His teeth are terrible round about. His scales are his pride, shut up together as with a close seal. Okay, here we go. By his sneezings, a light does shine, and his eyes are like the eyelids of the morning. Out of his mouth go burning lamps, and sparks of fire leap out. Out of his nostrils goeth smoke, as out of a seething pot or cauldron. His breath kindles coals, and a flame goeth out of his mouth. A dragon. And his neck remaining strength, and sorrow is turned into joy before him. There you go. So the Bible talks about dragons and all that, right? Right here. Psalms 44:19. Though thou hast sore broken us in a place of dragons, and covered us with the shadow of death. Right here. Tanin. So there's in this dark place, right, in this dimension, there's actual dragons and stuff like that it's saying there, right? All right, now let's go to this. So we saw, right, 2nd Ezra, nations of the dragons of Arabia. Okay. By Anashku Hassan, curatorial assistant, art of the Islamic worlds, apparel rampant. So these guys, you can kind of hardly see it, but you can see the dragons right here. Right? Okay. A pair of rampant green-colored dragons claw their way up the spectacular 21st century dragons of Karabakh. Carpet by the Azerbaijani artist Faig Ahmad. Installed in the center of the art of Islamic world's galleries. Its historical inspirations, a 17th century Caucasian dragon carpet with 3 pairs of dragons, is installed nearby in the blue and white ceramics area. Actually, let me go down. So, is the dragon in Islamic art force of good or evil, a source of terror or fount of protection? It is precisely this ambiguity and dualist nature that gives the dragon such power. In the West, Central, and East Asia, the dragon is strongly associated with the elements, especially water and fire. Now, this word gets into more biblical stuff here. The stoichion is what Paul calls them, or the weak and beggarly elements is what he says. Okay. Galatians 4:9. But now, after that ye have known of God, how turn ye again to the weak and beggarly elements, whereunto ye desire again to be in bondage? So we see here, let's go a little bit further down, because he shows you he's talking about the gods. But when the fullness of time was come, God sent forth his Son to redeem them that were under the law of adoption, by the way. He's not talking about the law of God, all of it in a whole. Right, because of your sons. God, where is it? Right. Howbeit then, when he knew not God, he did service unto them which by nature are no gods. We go down to verse 9. But now, after ye have, or that ye have known God, or rather are known of God, how turn ye again to the weak and beggarly elements, whereunto ye desire again to be in bondage? So let's see what that word is there for elements. Stoichion. And this is what it can mean. Element, principle, rudiment, presumed derivative of the base stoichio, something orderly in arrangement, serial, constitution, element, principle, rudiment. Where is it? There's one that really explains it. Right. The third one here. The heavenly bodies, either as parts of the heavens or as others think, because in them the elements of man's life and destiny were supposed to reside. So there it is. And he's talking about these seraphim, right? And what's interesting with those guys, let's bring this up. The 7 kings, right? And we know 5 of them, it says 5 are fallen, 5 of them are mentioned in the book of Enoch, right? So we got Revelation 17:10. And there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, 1 is, and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. And this goes into the dragon bloodline, or the dragon bloodline. And the beast that was and is not, even he is of the 8th. He's of the same ilk of these seraphim, these dragons per se, right? And is of the 7, and goeth into perdition. And we're going to see, where is it? You see here that it's got 7 heads, 10 horns, right? It's that beast with 7 heads and 10 horns that comes up out of the sea and all that, right? Very interesting, comes up out of the sea, because I will be talking about Satan's marine kingdom. That's a very interesting subject, and it's crazy, but it's there. But anyways, I digress. Anyways, guys, I'm probably going to start winding it down now. There's the dragons in the Bible, and then there's dragons in Warhammer 40k. There's probably more I can come up with the 40k stuff. But anyways, I just want to thank you guys for watching. And if you liked the video, thank you. If you disliked the video, thank you for at least giving me a chance. And I want to promote my memberships, just $5 a month. There's going to be Q&As, gaming sessions. There was some other stuff that I need to write down and think of first, but I'll get into that when I fully flesh it out and stuff like that. So there'll be extra content, but not biblical content or anything like that. Maybe like a little bit of Warhammer 40k or something, but not biblical content. I'm not going to get biblical content behind the paywall. But anyways, you'll also have access to the Discord, all that. There is a free version of the Discord as well. I need to start posting the link to that. And I want to start bringing up, some, if you're a Christian and you're a Warhammer 40k fan, I want a place for you guys to meet up, get to know each other, have Bible studies, and everybody, everybody's welcome. So, but anyways, if you're not a dummy, we'll just say, or a troll, right? But anyways, I digress. I want to thank you guys. You have a wonderful day.